President Bola Ahmed Tinubu aide, Nyesom Wike, who is the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, and the immediate past Governor of Rivers State, that is widely believed to be the apparent root cause of the political crisis in the state, who, shortly after the swearing-in of Governor Siminalayi Fubara, Wike helped to the seat of power, was accused by the sitting Governor, Siminalayi Fubara, of trying to use the State House of Assembly to frustrate and impeach him from office, simply because he, Fubara, refused to accept certain terms and conditions they both had in private, which, till now, both refused to tell the public. The apparent personal political misunderstandings that made the Governor, Fubara, to resort to self-defense by thus applying some measures within his powers as the Governor to frustrate and stop his impeachment from the probably instigated Rivers State House of Assembly lawmakers, whose majority of them, up to 27 members, are seemingly loyal to the FCT Minister, who, Wike, a few days ago, was the person that announced through the media to the general public that if an Ijaw son, Siminalayi Fubara, is impeached, nothing would happen, a statement he made, suggesting he may have conspired with the lawmakers to impeach the Governor, because by his statements during the press conference, he was probably already doing damage control even when the House of Assembly has not served the Governor an impeachment notice. But, in the face of the foregoing facts, the Nigeria Minister of Justice and the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, at a press briefing a few hours ago at the State House in Abuja, exonerated the FCT Minister and said categorically that the FCT Minister has no hand in the political crisis that has engulfed the oil-rich Rivers State, leading to militants bombing crude oil pipelines to destroy Nigeria's economy, probably as a way of protesting against the federal government's seemingly one-sided style of handling misunderstandings in the state. Detailed statements of the Minister of Justice and the Attorney General of the Federation, as transcribed and reported by Channels Television, are presented verbatim below. At a media chat with State House correspondent in Abuja, the AGF said President Bola Tinubu acted timely with his proclamation of emergency rule in Rivers State, the suspension of the Governor, and the appointment of a sole administration. Vice Admiral Ijaw, retired. Fagbemi said Fubara demolished the State House of Assembly complex to avoid being impeached and refused to rebuild it more than 1 year later. The Justice Minister said Fubara failed to implement the February 28, 2025 ruling of the Supreme Court and did not caution militants who had threatened to blow pipelines in the state. There was not a word dissuading the militant who issued the threats, he said. He said the situation could be allowed to continue as the critical economic lifeline of the nation was criminally touched. Fagbemi also said the emergency rule declaration was some sort of saving grace for Fubara, who has been served impeachment notice. If that impeachment had been allowed to take its full course, the Governor would have entirely lost and completely. So, in a way, instead of allowing the impeachment to continue, and which in the end would have seen both the Governor and the Deputy Governor out of office for the entirety of their 4-year term with the remainder of what they have, a balance of 2 years and 2 months, the AGF said. Fagbemi said the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Nyesom Wike, did not feature in the matter that was decided by the Supreme Court and should not be sentimentally brought into it. Wike, the immediate past Governor of Rivers State, has been locked in a protracted power tussle with Fubara, his estranged former political godson, for about 2 years. The apex court had backed the pro-Wike assembly led by Martins Amaewhule. Fagbemi said Wike should not be brought into the matter as he was not responsible for the actions of Fubara, who failed to act in line with the constitutional requirements of getting the approval of the state legislators in the affairs of running the state. He said, "There are occasions when it comes to national issues, we have to come out plainly and sincerely. Where do you put the Minister of the FCT in this case? Was he the one who asked for the demolition of the House of Assembly? Was he the one who said the Governor should not present the budget to the House of Assembly? Was he the one who advised the Governor not to go through the House of Assembly for purposes of ratifying the Commissioner nominees? I don't know, because if you want to look at a case, you look at the facts that have been presented. The Supreme Court made these critical findings. The FCT Minister did not feature. Assuming he featured, he would have featured on the side of the legislators, but what you have here is let everybody go home for the first 6 months. So, I don't see his hands here in what we have. Fagbemi advised all those who do not agree with the president's move to channel their energy to the National Assembly to veto the president's decision. We had reported that 2 female lawmakers, Marie Ebukake, PDP, Bayelsa State and Blessing Amadi, PDP, Rivers State on Wednesday engaged in a heated argument almost leading to a fight at the National Assembly ahead of the plenary session scheduled by the National Assembly leadership to discuss, approve or reject the proclamation of state of emergency declared on Tuesday night by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu over the apparent personal political crisis between the state governor, Siminalayi Fubara, and Tinubu's aide, Nyesom Wike, the FCT Minister and the immediate past governor of the South state. We had reported that the former Vice President of Nigeria, Atiku Abubakar, and former Governor of Anambra State, Peter Obi, both of whom were co-contestants as presidential candidates in the last presidential election in Nigeria, have reacted to the state of emergency and suspension of elected government in Rivers State by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, with Atiku accusing and describing President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as a vested partisan actor in the political turmoil engulfing Rivers State. We had reported that the Nigeria President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in a nationwide broadcast on Tuesday evening, for the first time more than a decade in the history of the West Africa country, declared a state of emergency in Rivers State and suspended for initial 6 months the governor, Siminalayi Fubara, and his deputy, Ngozi Odu, all elected members of the State House of Assembly, and appointed retired Vice Admiral Ibok Ibas as administrator to work with the existing laws of Rivers State with the members of the state judiciary following the apparent personal political crisis between the Rivers State governor, Siminalayi Fubara, and his former boss and the immediate past governor of the state, Nyesom Wike, who is currently the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, that was seen a few days ago in a viral video apparently making careless statements as a government official, statements capable of instigating a particular ethnic group against the government, wherein the FCT minister has said thus, that Ijaw people, a minority group in the South, and if their son, Fubara, is impeached, nothing would happen. After the statements, Wike refused to apologize to the Ijaw people despite public outcry and condemnations. Days after, as confirmed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, some militants started destroying crude oil pipelines in Rivers State as media reports trends and indicated that pro-Wike lawmakers may have concluded plans to impeach Governor Siminalayi Fubara.
The questions are more or less related, but let me start on the note of how we got to where we are today. How did it all start? That is about the genesis. We all know how we got here. Since 2023, I think towards the end of 2023, things have not been going on well, to the extent that the governor took the law into his hands and brought down the House of Assembly. Don't forget the role of the House of Assembly. They are the lawmakers. They are to consider budget. They are to, pass budget. They are also to be approached in matters of appointment of commissioners for ratification and all other things. They are to do oversight functions. So since that happened, things have not been the same at all. In a community of 32, you expect that at least 15 or 16 will be there to do the job. The governor, like I said, and it is no longer news, about 3 or 4 of the members constituted them to the House of Assembly and gave them preferential treatment, moved them to the government house to be performing legislative functions. This situation got to the court. There were about 10, 15, 16 cases. And at the end of the day, the Supreme Court came out and made very profound findings of breaches of the Constitution, mainly against the governor. You see, you rise or fall on the basis of what you took to court and what the decision of the court is on it. The court came to the decision that the governor had long anticipated that he might be impeached. And because of that, he knew that the House of Assembly was a critical structure or organ to do that. Brought down the House of Assembly. 14 months after, that is as at yesterday, it was 14 months, there was no effort to rebuild the House of Assembly. The government stands on a tripod: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. Made the functioning of government impossible. It is not enough for the legislature, for the executive to say we are spending money. Even the money you want to spend must have been appropriated for by the House of Assembly. These are some of the findings that made. And at the end of the day, the Supreme Court said or came to a decision that the behavior of the governor was like a despot, and that as situation was, there was no government in Rivers. If there was no government in Rivers, what else are we looking for? I'm so sorry for bringing in this issue. In the Bible, they asked Jesus Christ, "Are you the Son of God?" And he said yes. Then others chorused, "What further evidence do we need from this man?" So the stage is set, but no action was taken immediately in the expectation or hope that good sense will prevail, the governor will create an enabling environment, and that the House of Assembly too would be reasonable enough to ensure that the people of Rivers actually got a return for their voting of both members of the House of Assembly and the governor and other elected officials to enjoy dividends of democracy. We are in a democracy. So, then there were what I would call telegraphing of the militants, I would say by the governor, and the reason I said so was when he beckoned to them that, he would let them know when it was time to act, to the militants. Let us say it was wrong. Did he come out to disown them? The answer is no. And a week after they swung into action, you see or witness vandalization of oil pipelines. Don't also forget that before now, that is when this government came into office, Nigeria was producing about 900,000 liters of oil a day. With the efforts and all the ingenuity that the president had, he ensured that the production rose to about 1.5 barrel per day. That's about 45 of something increase. Governors were smiling home at the end of the month with about 60% increase in their take-home to their various governors. Then somebody rose or encouraged or became inactive when he was supposed to act. There was not a word dissuading the threat, the militants who issued this threat. In today's Nigeria, maybe with the efforts of the Mr. President, a Greek will come in, but as of today, we still rely largely on oil. For anyone to touch these pipelines, it's not only the enemy of Rivers, it's the enemy of Nigeria. All Nigerians, all the 36 states share in what comes in from the production of this oil. And I believe that the decision of Mr. President is anchored on the decision of the court, Supreme Court, as that. The second one is the inability of those involved, both the House of Assembly and the governor, from being able to, create an enabling environment for the people of Rivers to enjoy the dividends of democracy. Then the third series is about the security situation in that place. If he had waited maybe a day longer, only God knows what would have followed. And as a result of that, he came out to say, I am not only the head of state, I'm commander-in-chief of the armed forces, declared a state of emergency. The first question is hasty decision. When should he, I will ask rather rhetorically, when do you think should have come? When everything has collapsed? No. The law envisages that you come in when there is present imminent danger to the security of lives and property. People who are killing themselves. It's no longer news. It's not a question of making up the story. We all read papers every day. Those who live there are living in fears. So there is certainly the need to come in. We're about 2 years into the administration of in the state. If he didn't come in now, when do you think he should come in? Is it when everything has been destroyed? I don't think so. I think the president has acted. He has given opportunity to all the people involved, the parties involved, to make amends. Before then, he had assembled them. He had tried to mediate. Some said he had no constitutional power after agreeing. And what they agreed to at the meeting were not implemented. So, to answer your question, I don't think that the president, let me say, it's not a question of I don't think. I am certain that the president has acted timeously after giving them enough rope. And as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, it was a tough decision for him to make. It doesn't present anybody with joy to disrupt the flow of democracy or practice of it. But the Constitution itself envisages that there may be this type of situation. And that was why it is provided in Section 305 of the Constitution that extraordinary situations might arise. This is one of such extraordinary situations. The second one is about removing the governor, removing the deputy governor. You see, you decide each case on its own peculiar facts and circumstances. Who are the people involved? Who are the parties involved in this saga? They are the governor, members of the House of Assembly. So who else should have been affected? I've heard this funny argument. I'm sorry for saying it is funny because it doesn't make any sense to me. That the president should have just gone there to secure the pipelines and then come back. When some people are there encouraging vandals to come in. The action of the president is what happened is the effect of a fundamental cause, and you cannot be treating the cause, the effect, in order to cure the cause. What was the cause? The governor and members of the House of Assembly. So you don't try to. You have to behave responsibly, and you must have the guts. If it happens again, I will encourage Mr. President to do the same. Maybe this time with even greater vigor and vitality. So the question of separating or treating or giving preferential treatment to anybody does not arise. You give preferential treatment to anybody, you are giving preferential treatment to hooliganism. Let's call a spade a spade. This is where I believe that we should put up our patriotism cap. It shouldn't be about individual. It should not be about anybody. It should be about the entity called Nigeria. But in this case, the River State. So, it is River State's turn today. It can be anybody's turn tomorrow. Let the signal be clearly sent for those who want to make the practice of democracy and enjoyment of dividend of democracy a mirage, to think twice. So, I answered the question by saying I return the resounding no to the quest that the governor and deputy should have, or the members of the House of Assembly. They were all in it. So, then the other one is about compromise and replacement. It appears so. Don't forget, I think yesterday there was a notice of impeachment from the House of Assembly. If that impeachment had been allowed to take its full course, then the governor would have lost entirely and completely. So in a way, if you say it's a compromise, I will agree that instead of allowing the impeachment process to continue, and which in the end would have seen both the governor and the deputy governor out of office, and mean out for the entirety of the 4-year term, with the remainder of what we have. We have 1 year, I think about 9 months that I have to work together, leaving is it a balance of 2 years, 3. Thank you.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.